Welcome to another movie plot and enjoy the memories. It opens with a terrified girl being chased by a cult into an amusement park. The Order of Valtiel surround her on a carousel operated by the enslaved manifestation Pyramid Head. Heather gets confronted by her evil doppelganger Alessa, who tells her to keep away from Silent Hill, then sets the carousel on fire and incinerates the surrounding cult. Heather's engulfed in the flames before waking up in a panic and being comforted by her adoptive father. Christopher's suddenly run through by the demonic missionary as Heather wakens from another dream. The next morning it's revealed that Heather and Harry changed their names from Sharon and Chris in order to hide from the cult. 6 years ago Heather and her mother Rose went to the town of Silent Hill but were trapped inside an alternate dimension. The Order of Valtiel tried to sacrifice Heather, so her mother used an artifact called the Seal of Metatron to send Heather back to the overworld. She remained trapped inside the fog dimension while Heather lost all of her memories of the events that transpired inside. Chris upheld his promise to never let her return and to stay vigilant of the Order, who still wished to sacrifice her. He has her convinced that they're on the run for him murdering a random thief after one of the Order tracked them down, and he defended her. Heather believes that her mother died in a car crash and that morning receives a jacket like the one worn in her nightmare. On the way to her new school, Heather has a vision of a faceless man and is almost startled into traffic. She's met by Detective Douglas, who claims that she looks familiar, prompting Heather to nervously refuse to talk. At school she's made to introduce herself as the new girl and admits to moving from town to town for the past 6 years. She's mocked by the other kids and hears that another student, Vincent's, also new to the school. As she's walking to her first class, the whole place changes and Heather has a vision of a young Alessa being teased by her classmates for being a witch. She then enters the fog dimension of the school where an armless monster advances, but she's startled out of it by Vincent. Although he's nice enough, she doesn't want to make friends for the fear of moving away soon anyway. When Heather leaves she sees Douglas still watching her from outside the building and calls Chris to pick her up, but he's ambushed when leaving the house. Heather goes to the shopping center to wait for him and begins to have more visions when Douglas returns. She asks for help, but everyone's turned into grotesque monsters, so she flees into a back room where she witnesses the chef skinning people to make flesh burgers. Douglas catches up and reveals that he once worked for the cult who's hunting her but wants to help Heather escape them. Not believing him, Doug begins explaining the truth about her mother's disappearance and the existence of Silent Hill. Suddenly the missionary shows up and slices off Doug's fingers as he falls into the elevator with Heather. The monster follows them down and rips through the roof to kill Douglas just before he can escape with Heather. The mall's now a crime scene and detectives find Heather's bloody jacket and a photo with her real name on Doug's corpse. The scared girl's found again by Vinny, who accompanies her home when she has a vision of the Order following. The two arrive at Heather's to learn from a bloody message on the wall that Chris has been kidnapped and taken to Silent Hill. Recognizing the symbol from a trunk in her father's bedroom, she investigates to find a bunch of papers as well as half of the Seal of Metatron. Just then the police arrive to investigate Douglas's murder, so Heather convinces Vinny to take them to Silent Hill since she can't drive. During the trip Heather reads Chris's research to learn that Silent Hill was built on an ancient Indian burial ground. The Order would burn alive witches in hopes of summoning their god until Alessa proved more powerful than they had ever expected. She survived the fire and dragged the whole town into the fog world to exact her revenge, where she manifested monsters like Pyramid Head, who's noted as Alessa's guardian and executioner. Just before they enter Silent Hill, Vincent looks worried and has them pull into a motel to rest. While there he reveals that he's actually a child of the Order and was born and raised inside the fog dimension. He was taught to hate Heather his entire life and without the seal required a painful ritual to cross over and capture her. But can see that they were lies he was fed by how kind she is and warns Heather to stay away from the town. Naturally Heather freaks out and inadvertently causes the motel to shift to the other side as the defense mechanism she shares with Alessa. Once the world's completely rotted away, the missionary attacks them, knocking Heather unconscious, and she wakes to find Vincent missing. He said that she needs to collect the second half of the seal, which resides with his grandfather inside the town asylum. When Heather exits the motel she's now inside the fog world and enters Silent Hill on foot. The cultists watch from the windows as Heather locates a pyre for burning witches along with Alessa's mother. Dahlia was forced to watch as the Order burned her daughter alive and says Alessa used whatever good was inside her to manifest Heather before laying siege to Silent Hill. It's why she's the only one safe to remain outside as a siren begins to wail and the town shifts into the other world. Dahlia urges Heather to take shelter, so she runs to the nearest building, which is a warehouse filled with mannequins. It's the lair of a spider-like creature called the mannequin monster that turns people into living dolls. When Heather finds a young woman imprisoned in its plastic web she frees her before the monster returns and they try to reach the exit. Suki says that she took a wrong turn in Silent Hill and was captured by the monster, who adds another victim's head to its collection. The pair attempt to escape, but the mannequin monster catches up and drags the local girl away, never to be seen again. Inside their sanctuary, the order is shown to have Chris tied up to their god statue and reprimand Vincent for his betrayal. His mother and the cult's high priestess Claudia ignores her son's defense and has a soldier take him to the asylum to join his grandfather. When Heather gets to it, she begins searching for Leonard to retrieve the second half to the seal of Metatron. She's rushed inside by another unique monster, but uses the gun from her father's trunk to kill it and save herself. She locates the cell containing the chained up Leonard Wolf, who says that his family betrayed him as they're far more corrupted by the darkness than he is. Since Leonard's blind, he convinces Heather that he needs to touch the seal to tell what she's talking about, and shoves it into the second half located in his chest to regain his vision. The leader of the order attacks Heather, so she shoots him in the chest and tries to escape, but he turns into a large monster and walks through further shots to knock Heather unconscious. He takes her to be tormented when she wakes up and sticks her hand in Leonard's chest to remove the seal, keeping him alive. Now in a hallway filled with prisoners who reach out to attack her, Heather screams, getting the attention of Pyramid Head, who comes walking through, slicing off arms to protect what looks like Alyssa. Heather then finds a restrained Vinny getting taken to a room full of contorted nurses who only move when hearing a sound. The two members of the order try hold them back with tasers, but are quickly overcome and stabbed to death, leaving Vincent unable to escape, or else they begin swinging wildly in his direction. Heather saves him to assist in locating her father, but they make enough noise that the whole room begins acting up. She crawls beneath the nurses to take a fallen blade, cut Vincent's restraint, and flee as the room falls quiet again. The pair make their way to the order's sanctuary, hidden beneath the amusement park from Heather's nightmares. Once they get inside, they attempt to reach the carousel that Vinny says is the entrance to the sanctuary, but their way's guarded. Vincent wishes Heather a happy life before kissing her and running out, making noise to distract them. He allows Heather time to reach the carousel, where she's surrounded by dozens of the cultists, who are all incinerated by the fire as everything plays out the same as Heather's dream. The dark manifestation of Alyssa confronts her good side, immediately turning into her doppelganger's age. As Pyramid Head spins the carousel, descending them into the sanctuary, Alyssa tells Heather that she's a fool for returning and attempts to take back the life she gave her. Heather embraces Alyssa in a battle of willpower, where she wins by absorbing the manifestation. When she wakes a complete Heather, she's at the entrance to the sanctuary and finds her father, but is confronted by the high priestess. She thanks Heather for destroying her enemy Alyssa, but says that she isn't going to let her father go, and instead is going to use his sacrifice and Heather's body to incubate her demonic god and bring him to Earth. Recalling that the seal of Metatron revealed Leonard's true self, Heather hands it to Claudia, exposing her as the missionary who killed Douglas. Meanwhile, Pyramid Head rips free of his chains and enters the sanctuary to defend his creator. As the two monsters battle, Heather frees Vincent and Chris and waits with their fates tied to the success of her manifestation. Although he gets injured and Claudia nearly cuts open his helmet, the big guy wins when his greatsword cuts straight through the missionary's guard and takes off her head. As Pyramid Head returns to his duties, Chris, Heather and Vincent escape and notice that the ashes stopped falling on Silent Hill. Since the town's no longer in danger of the other side, Chris chooses to remain and find his wife Rose. He tells Heather to go with Vinny and have a normal life, then returns to the fog dimension before it closes. The pair return to reality and hitchhike with a truck driver named Travis Grady. He reckons he hasn't been around these parts in a long time as they leave Silent Hill and pass police escorting a prison bus. It enters the town as the thick fog begins to turn and the welcome sign gets engulfed. And the movie ends.